Joining me on the podcast is the legendary Dr. John Gray, the author of Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, as well as 20 other bestsellers.
We're going live, baby.
We'll do it live.
You're listening to the premier podcast for men who want to not only be better with women, but want to be better men in general. This is the Come On Man podcast. And here's your host,
Paul Bauer.
Paul Bauer.
Paul Bauer.
Paul Bauer.
Paul Bauer.
Paul Bauer.
Paul Bauer. He is a certified master life coach and NLP practitioner.
It's true. Stand true. What's going on today, guys? I have a great show for you. We are not live. This is pre-recorded, but stick around because I got to interview the legendary Dr. John Gray, the author of Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, and over 20 other best-selling books. His latest book just dropped. It's called Be Happy With or Without a Man. And since it's for women, Dr. Gray wants you guys to pick it up for your girls, okay? Because according to him, women are the problem. and they will never learn how to be happy in relationships until they can learn how to just be happy in general. Now, before I hand you off to Dr. Gray, my name is Paul Bauer. I help men level up and get better with women. And the funny thing about doing that is it tends to make us better men in all areas of our lives. So be sure while we're doing this here, be sure to like, subscribe, hit those notifications. I do have new episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And here's Dr. Gray after this real quick break to talk about my new course, the Passive Dread Blueprint. Use code DREAD20 to take 20% off with your purchase. She used to watch you, hang on your words, crave your presence. Now, she barely notices when you enter the room. And if she does, it's with eyes full of boredom. You've tried being softer. You've tried being sweeter. You've tried everything they said would work, and still nothing. The truth no one wants to say out loud, she doesn't miss you because there's nothing to miss. But what if you can make her feel the fear of losing you without saying a word? This isn't manipulation. It's psychological contrast. It's healthy anxiety. It's passive dread. Rebuild tension, reignite her curiosity, make her jealous of the life you're living without her at the center. You don't chase desire. You become the man it fears losing. Visit dread.fixdeadbedrooms.com now and take the course. Don't wait for her to act different. Take action for yourself. Dr. Gray, thank you for joining me today. I'm really excited to have you on the show. I told my mom that I was going to have you on, and I distinctly remember her buying Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus when it first came out. And so when I told her that you were going to be on, she said, yeah, I bought that book because I was hoping it would help our marriage. And I said, well, did it help? And she goes, well, we're still together. So, but then she added, it might have helped more, but your dad refused to read it.
It would have helped more if he read it. No doubt. No doubt.
No doubt. Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. Let me know what your experience is with this sort of thing. But when men come to me, they almost always are like, can you talk to my wife? I need her to change. And they're never looking inward on what they can do. Has that been your experience?
Yeah, I think that's about men realizing women can change, but women also, they're obsessed with how we can change. And what's interesting, I just finished a book, which is called Be Happy With or Without a Man. Mm-hmm. It's a very gentle way of explaining to women that they cause all problems in relationships. So I'm with you. I'm with you. There's no doubt that men are a part of every problem. A man is there. But what happens is once you bond with a woman, once you have sex with a woman, this is really when it shows up. Once you have sex, there's an attachment that happens. And we all men, we want to be with a happy woman. It makes you feel good about yourself. Also, you care about her. That's the best of us, is we want to help women. But if women don't want to be helped, then there's nothing we can do.
True.
See? And so what they end up doing is trying to change us rather than learning to use us to change and be a better person. So my whole message is that this new book is for women only. It's called For Women Only, but every man should give it to a woman, because it basically, in a very subtle way, I explained to women how once they went to their male side with feminism, relationships went downhill. I mean, literally, and a couple of years, it went from 25%, 10% divorce to like 50%, 60%. It's like what happens is most divorces are initiated by women. They're unhappy. I'll tell you one joke. Okay, it's not my joke, but I don't know if I can pull it off, but I think with a bunch of guys listening, I can pull it off. This was a comedian. He said, "Did you know that the highest rate of divorce is lesbians? Did you know that?"
I did know that. Yes,
that's true. And then comes heterosexual, and then comes gay men. So you try to analyze that. Well, lesbians have the most divorce. It's 2 women. Heterosexuals have the next level. It's 1 woman. Gay men, no woman, no divorce.
I know. The math checks out. The math
checks out. And so what it looks like is this. And this is in the book, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. It's the anatomy of an argument. Generally, when couples argue a lot, it kills the attraction and the passion. And what happens is men start to get angry. As soon as you get angry as men, women can't open up to you. So you can look at this problem. Men make mistakes, women make mistakes. But where does it start? Every argument starts when a woman's complaining about a man, or a woman's not happy with a man, or a woman's not trusting a man. Because see, the way we are functioning as human beings, there's biological differences between men and women. This is my later work, because there was so much after Men Are From Mars became the biggest selling book in the world in the 90s, for the decade of the 90s, back in there. And one day later, once USA Today said it was the biggest selling book in America compared to all other books in all categories and everything, which was record sales of any book until Harry Potter came along.
Wow, you were on top until Harry Potter came on.
Yeah, that's right. The whole decade of the 90s, the biggest selling book of all books in the world. I was bestseller in almost every country that has books. It was amazing. It was like all top of the chart. And it literally, in a few months after that, I was taken off of all of the network TV shows. See, part of being a successful author is you got to get out there. You have to be seen. Every TV show, Oprah had me on 18 times. I was her personal coach. Today Show, Newsweek, Time, everybody was seeing me all the time. And I even had an infomercial that ran every night. So people recognized me everywhere. The message got out. And my infomercial was different from others, where you just talk about the benefits and how I just taught a seminar. That was my infomercial. And I made no money off of it. All I did is took money from it. And we sold $100 million worth of infomercial. I pulled in $100 million, which I put back into running the infomercial, so my message could be everywhere. And, I made money on the book sales. That was it, but not on the infomercial. I just kept putting the money back in. So what happens is I just wanted my message to get out there, and everybody knew about Men Are From Mars. Everybody recognized me wherever I went. And then in 1 month or 2 months, I was kicked off of all TV shows, off the Oprah show. They would never talk to me. They'd always say, well, we've decided to go another direction. It's because I got too big. Because my message teaches that men and women are different and they can reconnect. And it was literally like they just didn't take me serious, the powers that be that have an agenda to demasculate men. Then they become weaker. And it breaks up the marriage. And then you have less children. And then your children, it's a big mess what we have today. And then degeneration. Back in the 60s, I watched it happen as women went over to their male side. This is feminism. They can't be happy. When women go on their male side, they make testosterone. When they're on their female side, when they're feeling loved, they're feeling safe, they're feeling protected, their life is about nurturing and happiness and so forth, they make a hormone called estrogen and progesterone. If they don't make those hormones, they're making stress hormones. So as soon as women started becoming independent, they're producing testosterone. They're unapproachable to men. You can't make them happy. You used to be able to just have a job, come home, have decent manners and women were happy with you. That's what love is. Love doesn't demand perfection. It appreciates what you got. You're in the moment. Well, women lost that ability. That's where all the divorce comes from. I mean, we have to feel sorry for them, compassionate for them. We have to help them, but you can't help somebody unless they want to be helped. And that's the problem. So unless women become aware that they are the problem and that they need help, there's very little we men can do. We can certainly make it worse if we don't understand women. So yeah, it's like as soon as you have sex with a woman, now you have this attachment to her and she has an attachment to you. You're connected. So before that, she could be a little critical, a little upset. You don't mind it. But once you have sex, you have no defenses. You've opened yourself up. You've given her the power to make you have an erection. She's given her the power to make you go really high and feel really great. Well, now she can say negative things about you, complain about you, or just be unhappy. And then you end up feeling like you failed her. See, it pushes your buttons and you get triggered. So triggered is just simply a stress response. Whenever a man has a stress response, measure his hormones. What do you think his hormones are?
When he's stressed out, he's probably got high cortisol levels, I would imagine.
That's right. Cortisol is a hormone, but what also is going on in his body?
Fight or flight type stuff.
That's right. What are the hormones of fight or flight?
I don't know. What are they?
Most people don't know. I'm only making the point. Not that you're, it's like, it took me years to figure this stuff out and then find the research to back it up.
Sure.
Because then people say, where's the research? Where's the research? Then I have all the research. It's all there in this book, the references and so forth. Anytime a man is stressed, and that's fight or flight, it can be other things as well. But whenever he's stressed, producing cortisol or adrenaline, particularly when he's producing cortisol, that's the fight or flight. What's happening in his body is his testosterone levels are going down. His estrogen is going up. Now, most people think when men are angry or aggressive that they have big high testosterone. No, they have low testosterone at that time.
Yeah, because that is a big sort of topic in our space about making sure that you're staying on top of your endocrine system, that your T levels are good, because a lot of guys have no control of their emotions when their T levels are low.
That's exactly right. So now we understand it. And now so it's a balancing of your testosterone and your estrogen. Same thing for women. They need the right balance for them. And it's the opposite balance for them as it is for us. So this is what the research shows. If a man is feeling well-being and positive, heart open, motivated, has good energy, he's not procrastinating, he's feeling love for his partner, or he's feeling good about himself. Any of those times, his testosterone is 10 to 20 times higher than a woman's. And his estrogen is much lower. His testosterone is high. His estrogen is low. A woman's estrogen levels, when she's producing cortisol, her estrogen levels are too low. She needs to be making 10 to 20 times more estrogen than a man. If she's not making that much estrogen, she has all the problems that we see with women today. They're not satisfied. They're overwhelmed. They have anxiety. They become picky. They feel easily hurt by things. They're hypersensitive to things. They're critical. They compare. They criticize. They complain. All that happens only when she's producing stress hormones. Literally, the brain goes to different parts of the brain. If a woman's producing a cortisol stress hormone, what will happen is blood flow goes to the right part of the forebrain, which only sees problems, as opposed to the left part of the brain, which only sees optimism and goodness. You can't control this. So you can't just try to be happy and positive, whatever. If you're producing stress hormones, blood goes to different places. And it all makes sense once you understand it. I mean, think about it. Cortisol gets produced when you perceive danger. So if you perceive danger, what do you have to do? You have to look for where's the danger. You have to be looking for danger. You're looking for the problem. You're looking for what's not good. And this is what happens when women get involved with men and they're too far on their female side. All they do is they look at what's wrong with you instead of what's good for you. So when a woman is in her balance, when she's producing healthy amounts of estrogen, 10 to 20 times higher than a man's, and a man's making 10 to 20 times more testosterone than her, what you have is no stress hormones. And what that does allows your heart to open. You find yourself as a man being more motivated, having more energy, being more compassionate, being more patient. And to a great extent, many of the symptoms of ADD and addiction go away. That's the problem for men. is that when their testosterone goes down because they're not getting messages from women, and messages to themselves, of course, but when a woman's appreciating you, it amplifies it. It's like, if we're giving a talk in front of an audience, I feel good about myself, but if they suddenly stand up and start clapping, I feel even better about myself. We all need, reassurance and confirmation and acknowledgement. And the biggest testosterone producers in men come from women. When you're a hero, you'll die for her. I explain that to women. You don't ever make a man a problem. You make him the hero. And there's a whole book to do that, which is explaining to women the biology of how they unknowingly sabotage relationships. So let's look at a simple example. Under adrenaline is a stress hormone, but it has a different effect on your brain than cortisol. If you stay in a state of adrenaline for a long period of time, then you'll go into cortisol. But what is adrenaline? Adrenaline is, well, right now I'm making some adrenaline, probably just mostly dopamine with you because I feel very safe with another man. If women are online, I have to be more careful as not to say the wrong thing, and they'll obsess over that. There's actually a scientific thing is that a man can get upset about something. Blood flow will go to his emotional part of the brain. Adrenaline will go up. That's a stress hormone, and he'll detach from his emotions. We become completely detached. It's the same experience if I'm going 80 miles an hour. There's a place where you're driving your car where you suddenly have no problems. You're just focused on the road and you're feeling good. That's adrenaline. And that's good for you. You need adrenaline. You just don't need it a long period of time. If you take it, if it stays too long, then it will turn into cortisol. But what happens for us as men is when we're producing adrenaline, we detach from our emotions. Literally, we have no emotions. You see those guys rock climbing up the side of the mountain. They're not feeling fear. They're concerned, but they're not feeling fear. They're not thinking about, am I paying my bills this week?
It's probably like when I'm on my motorcycle and I'm going really fast, I'm not necessarily thinking about hitting the ground at 90 miles an hour. I'm actually like probably listening to an audiobook,
That's right. That's right. Yeah. I mean, I used to ride a motorcycle as a kid. I was, whoa. But what it is, you're not going to worry about other things. Women don't have that ability. They're always worrying about other things because adrenaline for women increases blood flow to the worry part of the brain 3 times more than a man. So there's a big difference. If it was double, it would be huge distinction, 3 times more. So what happens is women don't have an off switch. We do. We can get on our motorcycle. We can watch the news. We can go play pickleball if you're older. You can, go play golf. You can do things that focus your attention away from the problems that you can't solve.
Yeah, men can. I find fascinating about men, and I really don't think women understand this, is like we can compartmentalize things, I think, much better. Like work, we're stressed out at work. We come home, sit there for a little bit, get in our nothing box, go in, and now we're in family mode. And we can operate that way. And
right, that nothing box, that's a cave time. Cave time is basically forget your problems and then by doing something else. That's also, I distract myself. I can distract myself from this and this and this. And the whole idea about men is that, well, there's so much to explain about it, but we're run by testosterone and we run out of energy faster than women. And our testosterone goes up when there's bigger danger. So there's a difference in our neurons in our brain, which is the dopamine receptor sites for a woman are much more sensitive than a man's. So what that means is if I drop a rock on my foot, it's not that big of a deal. You drop the same rock on a woman's foot and it's going to be a boulder. Okay, it's big. I just saw a video of a Navy SEAL, and he was talking about, the initiation to see if you really want to become a Navy SEAL, which is, to be ultimate male again, in terms of being a Navy SEAL, risking your life for everybody, being highly competent, skilled, disciplined, and everything. I can't say I'm that, but you just admire those guys. So, but the first thing they do is they put 50 guys in a room that are trying out to be Navy SEALs, and they watch for hours. They watch videos of people having their head cut off, the blood spurting out and the whole thing. This recent thing of Charlie Kirk, for example, they don't want to show any blood. It's like people can't handle blood.
Oh yeah. In my men's group, the video got shown of that. And one of the guys in the group's like, man, this is messing with me, man. A lot of people can't deal with that kind of graphic violence. Right. Yeah.
Well, you have to imagine that a woman is 10 times more than that.
Mm.
That's what you have to know, is they can't deal with it. And if a woman says she can, she's completely shut down and she can't have orgasms. Okay, that's why women can be so orgasmic. You know, they can go on and on. Is their dopamine receptors are much more sensitive than most men. Okay. Okay. Now, when men start becoming more feminized, which is what's happening to men, and if a man wants to know he's become feminized, look at his testosterone levels. If his testosterone is low, he's been feminized. If he easily gets angry or irritated or annoyed, he's been feminized. Those are all the symptoms. If he procrastinates, you know, he says, I'm going to do this, and he doesn't do it, he's been feminized. All of those, procrastination and addiction. Anytime you're addicted, that means you're looking to something outside yourself to make you feel good, as opposed to, I just worked hard today, and the result of working hard is I feel good.
Mm-hmm.
See, that's the healthy thing, is I overcame obstacles. I did difficult things. I faced my fears and I did it anyway. I have disciplines that I do, and I don't want to do them. And I remember it uses an example. I was listening, what's his name? The most famous podcaster.
Oh, Joe Rogan.
Joe Rogan. So it's a Joe Rogan show. And so Joe is interviewing one of these guys, you know, like a Navy SEAL guy. And he says, well, what's your routine every day? He's like, get up at 4 o'clock. I run for long distances. It's like, I don't know, 10 miles or something. Then he does cold plunge, and then he does his weights, and he does this, just a whole 2 hour, 3 hour routine in the morning. And then Joe says, and how do you feel? He says, I hate it. I hate it. But when I'm done, I love it. Nothing can bother me.
Yeah.
You know, when you go through that much suffering,
yeah,
life is nothing.
I don't need to do all that, but I retired from running this year. It's too hard on my knees, but I loved running, but not at the beginning of it. Usually in the middle, near the end was good.
The endorphins kick in. Yeah.
And then absolutely when I was done, I felt really good afterwards. But right when it's starting, it was a dog. It's to force myself to do it, but I did it anyway because I knew I had to.
You know, for me as a writer, to sit down and write with an empty screen, and I got to come up and do this. That's my big challenge. You know, muscles is not my thing. My need for testosterone is not as high as certain men. For my body type, you can look at the amount of muscle mass you have and the width of your shoulders, and yours are pretty wide. So what that means is you require a higher testosterone level in order to feel better. That's why I say 10 to 20 times more testosterone for men. We all have a range in that place. When I taught in San Quentin to murderers and killers, usually the rapists and the murderers were all big, wide-shouldered guys. And what that means is they need to make more testosterone in order to experience love, in order to experience their heart being open, in order to experience compassion for others. And that's what all criminals do, is that they don't have the ability to feel the hurt that they're causing to others. So they act just selfishly. Well, all their testosterone levels were extremely low compared to what they needed to make. That's why often guys with lots of muscles will tend to want to join the army, or, you know, had guys doing construction just the other day. He's doing the jackhammer. You know, you have to do something that people appreciate you a lot for. So heroes typically have the wide shoulders and the little waist. That's the typical hero, because they need to make, that's called a mesomorph body type. We have different body types. I'm an ectomorph body type. I don't need to have much muscles, more brain sort of stuff, stimulation. Then you have endomorphs. They need to be more in their heart. They have more fat cells and so forth. But muscle cell guys, they need to make more testosterone. And I was just talking to one, he's now taking testosterone because his testosterone levels are around 200 and 240, he said. Well, that's extremely low. Why would it be there? And so he takes testosterone. And, you know, that's the world of the doctors. If you have medicine, you go to that world. But what I know is, why does he have such low testosterone? So you have to analyze someone's behavior and understand he's not getting acknowledgement and appreciation for his contribution to society. If you're not paid well, your testosterone levels will go down. If you're not fucking a woman who wants to have sex with you, your testosterone levels will go down if you age. And most men, the sexual energy starts dropping as they get 40 years old. Half the men are taking Viagra because they're not getting erections. What's wrong here? They've been feminized. You know, I'm 74 years old. My testosterone levels are 50% higher than when I was a young man. They're at 600. I used to be 400, which is healthy for my body type. Didn't cause any stress. That man who's got 200, he needs about 1,100 or 1,000. That's for that body type. And I've worked with a lot of athletes, you know, these actually one of the Navy SEALs I once was counseling for his relationships. So here's understanding. He's Navy SEAL, all muscle and everything like that. Although I want to finish the story on Navy SEALs, and he comes to me, he says, I have this, it's just happened many times. I have sex with a girlfriend, and then I go back the second, third time, I can't get it up. What is it? And yet I could go and do porn and it will come right up. Because when you're doing porn, it causes dopamine, which will give a fake rise of testosterone. It's like the house is burning down. You have all this energy to go in and do it. Well, porn produces like cocaine levels of dopamine that gives you testosterone levels, which gives you your erection. It gives you testosterone levels, but you didn't earn it.
Yeah.
So if you don't earn it, you have to have this new and different.
That's why I usually tell guys that are complaining about erectile dysfunction with their wives and stuff like that. But I ask them like, well, what's it like when you're watching porn? And they're like, oh, it's great. I'm like, you cut out the porn.
That's right.
You cut that out.
You cut it out. And you can't even look at it. Don't even try to look at it and not feel like you want to masturbate. And of course, every time you masturbate, you're lowering your testosterone. Over time, it just goes down, down, down. It's one of the reasons an average 20-year-old man has 20% less testosterone than just 20 years ago. It's just the advent of porn is major. There's also plastics in these plastic bottles. I never touch a plastic bottle unless I'm really thirsty.
It's in our soaps and our shampoos, the parabens and all that kind of stuff. It's everywhere. It's hard to escape it. Yeah.
Yeah, but I still have high testosterone and I haven't been exposed to that stuff. The big thing for me and why it's different. Fortunately, I had a childhood, not a childhood, but my 20s, I was a celibate monk. So I know how to, when you're a celibate monk, it's hugely frowned upon to masturbate. You cannot have spiritual experience. If your goal is spiritual experience, you're not going to have it if you masturbate. After 9 years of spiritual experience, pure celibacy, never masturbating, I had this massive God consciousness experience, realization and everything. As soon as I had sex with a woman, it was gone. It just deflated because it wasn't love sex. When I married my wife, it came back. Okay. Because now I was sharing my spiritual energy with her, my life force energy with her, and she was loving me back. Mm-hmm. So that it's, you give forth your life force energy when you ejaculate. It takes a woman to have an orgasm and have this response back to your body. There's actual an energy exchange. And all the ancient traditions knew about this for the more advanced people, kings and queens and, masters of any art would all practice having sex in a way where it was the exchange of energy was there as opposed to just with yourself. And now we have computers that just take over your mind. Porn will grip your brain. There's very little you can do to control yourself. Even for me, if I was to watch porn, something starts to happen down there. I go, hey, that's not real. That's not real. But you're connecting with fake. And it's even more fake because the way the brain back here, this unconscious mind, when you can go online and you can see 64,000 women undressing in front of you saying, I want you. Okay. Your subconscious mind thinks you're the king of the world. Mm-hmm. And being the king of the world, you get this big surge of testosterone and afterwards it just crashes down. And it's all an illusion. Those women don't really want you. You're not the king of the world. And your soul knows that. So it's like one of the most damaging things for males. And then what happens is when they have sex with their partner, they can't get it up because they're addicted to the high dopamine stimulation. A real woman that you love can never produce that much dopamine. And so you think, well, gee, I can never be that turned on.
Not with the attitude of a can't do attitude. So nurse chick, I want you to have a can do attitude with this. All right. I want you to be able to produce. That's my girlfriend. I'm just kidding.
Okay. Well, you have to have the relationship skills so that women can want sex. Here's the thing, I'm a married man for 32 years. Then my wife passed and now I'm remarried. Mm-hmm. But you say to your wife, let's say she's stressed and you say, do you want to have sex? She don't want to have sex.
Right.
She can't feel the hormone. Her hormones are out of balance. You have to help her come back into balance before she can actually feel desire. It doesn't mean she doesn't have the potential to want to have sex with you. Intellectually, my wife would say, well, John, of course I love having sex with you, but right now I'm too stressed. Or right now it's not happening. But
That's one hard thing I my clients have to deal with, because guys can sort of turn it on and off, and they just sort of wait till bedtime and they're like, hey, it's sexy time, right? And women sort of need to have their pump primed a little bit, you know.
Exactly. They need to have estrogen, and they need it outside the bedroom, not just inside the bedroom. It can be too sudden. They need time, and yet you have to have good communication. So if I'm in the mood, I'll just say, hey, honey, are you interested in having sex? She always will say, this is why we learned to say this, I love having sex with you. You should never say, no, I don't want to have sex. This penis does not have a lot of intelligence to it. You say no to the penis, and after a while, it's just not interested anymore. And that's another reason. This is one of my earlier studies, because I fly first class. And in first class, I can't say this about everybody, but I think it's so. But in first class, you're sitting there and you've got a guy next to you, and he's, can pay for first class. And so once they know who they're talking to, John Gray, they'll open up and share their sex life with me. But
isn't that great? Like,
yeah, I can hear everything. Okay. Yeah. So anyway, but even then I'll say, at first I ask about their family and whatever. And then I talk about their sex life. I say, well, how's your sex life? And the first thing is, oh, it's great. They're remembering 15 years ago.
Yeah.
See,
my thing, because I come from the red pill space, and we are not fans of the modern marriage laws, really, and but I'm also a big proponent of long-term relationships. So I'm like, yeah, there's no reason not to have one, and you don't necessarily need to get the government involved. And so a lot of my message sometimes comes out on social media as sort of misogynistic and toxic and stuff, which is sort of a
It's okay with me. I understand it. I'm a guy.
Yeah.
I get it. You don't want the government controlling you. I don't want the government controlling me. So what I have is with my wife is I have the prenup. The prenup is there. So
it's smart
in the whole thing.
So what I was going to say though is usually what I'll get is I'll get some guy who's like, what do you know about relationships? I've been married for 30 years. And my response to that is like, that's wonderful. How's the sex?
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Let me give you a funny example of feminism and sex. Mm-hmm. I was watching, a little cutout of The View, those women that are sitting there, that there's always one hot woman, right? And so that day they were all like focusing in on the hot woman, and because she was saying, oh, I had the best relationship. It's wonderful. And whoa, tell us about it. Tell us about all these women who don't have relationships. And wait, men, well, tell us about it. Is it really possible? And so she says, yes, he's the perfect husband. I have to get up at 4:00 to come into New York and do the show. I don't get home till dinner time. We have 3 kids. He's taking care of the kids. He's cleaned the house. He's made dinner. He's the perfect wife. And they all laugh. Oh, you're so lucky. You got a wife. You got a wife. And then one of the women says, and how's the sex life? And she starts laughing. We haven't had sex since the last child.
Right. Yep.
It just kills. You can't have a sex drive when a woman is on her male side. What we can have, and this is part of my message, which is why, it's not like just turn back the clock and whatever, but what it is understanding why we have so many problems. It's on a hormonal level. When women are making money, when they're doing that, we're doing traditional male jobs. They make testosterone. They don't make enough estrogen. So they're stressed. They can't feel love. They may love their partner, but they're not really loving. I mean, really loving is no resentment, having lots of energy and being happy. Okay. Mm-hmm. So they're not there. And see, I know what it's like because I grew up with a mother who was that. I was very lucky. So I have a picture of reality of what's possible. Most people don't even know what's possible. Women don't even know what's possible. Mm-hmm. But what happens is, I know what happened then is my mother, basically, she had a dream of 7 kids. My father provided 7 kids. My father had a job that supported her and a home and a nice neighborhood. The way the world was in the 50s, you could have 1/3 of your income could pay for your house. Now it's almost 70% of your income to buy a house. You can't even buy a house. I mean, this is like terrible for both men and women. And it's, of course, the women caused it because when women start making money, then there's double the money in the home. And then people spend more money on houses and you have inflation. And we've created this big mess. Anyway, so here it is if a woman is on her male side, she has to suffer, and women are suffering enough. So they're very interested in my message again about how to come back to the female side. These women,
have you noticed that women are starting to realize like, hey, I'm not happy with this feminist egalitarian fairy tale that we've been sold.
That's right. And egalitarian, let's just look at that one thing. is that egalitarian has this stupid idea that to be equal, we have to be the same.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mean we're the same, because we're not the same.
Yeah.
If you want egalitarian, it's equal respect. It's honoring what women primarily need, what men primarily need, and give that. That's respect. But no, it's not happening today. It's confusion today. And then you see our children are so confused. All these kids thinking they're boys, thinking they're girls, girls thinking they're boys. Their parents are confused. The parents are in role reversal. What are the children going to do? They're going to go into role reversal even more extreme. They look to you for clarity and guidance. This is all a big mess, but it's starting to be corrected, because I see there's nothing we can do as men to a certain extent, because women need to look at a man as he can help me be happy. If they don't look at you as you can help me be happy, they can't appreciate you. All they're going to do is be picky, judgmental, never good enough, and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. And they have the wrong values. All they care about is money. My mother didn't care about money, but my dad could provide a house for her so she could raise her children and so forth. And I'm not saying every woman wants that, whatever. I'm not going to put that. But what I do know, if a woman wants to be independent on her male side, that makes testosterone. She's going to be more stressed unless she can look forward to every day coming home to a man providing a unique and new form of support that helps her come back to her female side. My dad didn't need these skills, because my mother was in her female side. She knew I need a man to provide for me, and I know how to be a woman, and I'm very happy being a woman, and so forth. That was good. But today, as women want to be on their male side, all power to them. Okay. So you're on your male side, but if you're unhappy, the reason you're unhappy, bottom line, is that you're not connected to your female hormones. How do you become connected to your female hormones? You have a man in your life who helps you come back to your female hormones. But for him to do that, you have to first feel, I need help. It's to be humble. She has to be humbled by life. Suffering finally humbles you, because they think they're right. Everything they do is right. Now they're being humbled, and they're saying, help me come back to my female side. So I define their female side for them. The female side of you is the vulnerable part of you that can't be happy alone. You need to depend on a man. Now you have to learn to be happy alone, but to be happier, to be orgasmic, to be fulfilled on a higher level, you need a man, period. You can't get there. And biologically, you can't get there. And I can prove it. You can have a gay relationship with another woman. You're not going to make the hormones of bonding. You'll make the hormones of attachment. Yeah. When you're with a man, you actually make the hormone of prolactin. And prolactin is this unique hormone that creates well-being and bonds a man and a woman together. It allows her to experience higher levels of estrogen with this man, as opposed to lesser state. So what we have to understand, and it comes back to the whole idea of marriage. And, I get not wanting the government to control you, but there's ways you can do prenups and various things to be free of that.
Sure. But
the commitment that a woman needs to feel from a man is what allows her to produce prolactin. A woman can have sex with a man, and if he hasn't committed to her, meaning I'm committed to you for a lifetime, unless you become crazy. Okay. But I'm committed to you. I'm monogamous with you. I'm not masturbating. I'm not doing porn. My energy goes to you. So women in monogamous relationships, after an orgasm, they produce 400% more prolactin. And prolactin is what allows them to bond with you and love you through thick and thin. And it also allows a man to bond through thick and thin. And all it takes is for him to go masturbate, and his prolactin is gone. If you have sex with a stranger, sex a one-night stand, sex right away in a relationship, I'm a guy, all I wanted was sex right away. There's no question about that. But if you get it, you don't make this huge amount of prolactin. As a matter of fact, you often feel repulsed, okay? You become attached by the release of oxytocin during the sex, and that oxytocin lowers your stress levels. Everybody thinks oxytocin lowers stress. It does for women, not for men. It allows you to experience a lot of estrogen, which feels good. Drink alcohol, drink beer, you produce a lot of estrogen, and you get a hangover. Also, you can have, beer lowers your testosterone. I'm not saying never have some beer. Okay. It's just too much beer. You're going to knock down your testosterone. Any addiction, once it becomes an addiction, addiction means I'm depending on something, some substance or some behavior where I'm dependent on someone else for my happiness. When you're dependent on something outside yourself for happiness, estrogen goes up and testosterone goes down. when you're doing your discipline, when you're doing your exercise, when you're working hard, when you're doing your, earning money so you can be successful, create a home, create a family, create children, that gives mission and purpose. What happens is your testosterone stays high. You bond with your partner. But if you don't do the things that produce testosterone, you feel low testosterone. That makes you feel high estrogen. They literally go like this, up and down. When testosterone goes down, estrogen goes up. And anytime a man is angry, for example, and this is what the guys have to learn listening, your big sabotage towards the women in your life is feeling angry in their presence. Now we're going to go back to that first example, which I just saw recently, is the Navy SEAL. They're cutting off heads. Half the guys are throwing up. They won't let them look away. They have to keep looking. They're sick and they quit. Okay, now you got the half that stay. Then he said, now why did we stay? Because when we saw heads being cut off, we got angry. We got really angry. And that, the world needs us. We need to get rid of those bad guys. We need to wipe them off the planet. We have to get rid of them. We feel angry. And then he said, and then the rest of the training of these guys who could get angry was learning how not to speak when you're angry, learning how not to make a decision when you're angry, learning not to take action when you're angry. Okay. That was the whole training, is you have to have that part of you that says, fuck you to bad things. And then that's anger. Okay. So you have anger and then transform your anger into calm and to peace. You don't make decisions when you're angry. And now the reason I like what they're teaching, and I also explain part of that extra training he didn't go into, but I know part of it is the drill sergeant. The drill sergeant routine is you line up a bunch of men and you abuse them. You're a wimp, you're a fag, you're a this, you're a that, you push them down. And if you even smirk, then you have to do 100 push-ups, or the whole group has to go do a bunch of laps, all because of you. And then they hate you. So you learn how to be a man by sucking it up. You don't let your emotions, your negative emotions, come control you in any way. You have to be not controlled by your negative emotions. Now, what has the psychology done to men, and what are women doing to men unknowingly? They're feminizing us. They want you to talk about your feelings. They always want you to talk about what you're feeling, what's going on inside.
Be vulnerable. You got to be vulnerable.
Oh, you got to be vulnerable. No, you don't. You know what a man's vulnerability is? I'm being vulnerable right now by saying I'm going to go on TV and express my ideas and make a difference in the world. That's my vulnerability. I set a goal and then I follow through. The reason, that's the vulnerability that men need. That's masculine vulnerability. And the big vulnerability is finally when I make a commitment to a woman and say, I'm going to be there for a life for you. And I will die for you. That's big commitment. And I feel that. That's easy for me to feel because I produce prolactin. Prolactin makes men like supermen in terms of willingness to focus on one woman. It's very hard to focus on one woman unless you bond. Otherwise, if you just get attached and then detach, which is what happens through sex, is high estrogen goes up, you attach. And when you attach, it means that woman has power over you to affect you. And so that she doesn't have power to affect you, you detach and you go back to your male side. And then you keep trying to find balance. So, I explain in my books, men get close, they need to pull away. They get close, they need to pull away. That becomes less over time as you produce more and more prolactin. Then you can sustain being close to a woman. But if she's not in balance, you can't. See, what happens is once you bond with a woman, once you're connected to her, what she feels will affect you. And if she doesn't trust you, then you will go into a stress response. Trust. What are the three things that produce testosterone? Feeling trusted, feeling accepted, and feeling appreciated. So feeling accepted means I made a big mistake and I'm embarrassed and she doesn't say anything. It's something they do in Asia that all women know, at least in public, they know never to condemn or judge or embarrass your husband. It'd be like a cardinal sin. Okay. You just wouldn't do that. But in person, they'll do it. Okay. But we've got to learn women do that all the time. Never embarrass a man, never point out his flaws, never point out his mistakes. We don't go to you for that. We can go to our drill sergeant for that. We can go to therapists, coaches, trainers, whatever. That's not your role. Your role is to love us and create a space for us to help you. And men don't know how to help women. That's true. Women today, they don't know how they need help. And even if men take my classes and read my book, to a great extent, they don't know how to. The woman, helping her won't be effective unless she feels I need your help. The needing help is her vulnerability. And what is woman, when she makes money, she thinks, I don't need men. So all these women are running around, I don't need a man, I don't need a man. They're not attractive. Who wants that woman? You know, they just, men are just intimidated by me. No, it's like, this is like no job available. There's no payment I'm going to get from this woman. And women don't know that. So this is why you give them my book, for women to be happy with or without a man, teaches women in a gentle way how to realize that every time that they don't trust a man, they shut him down. Every time they criticize him and they don't accept him as he is, they shut him down. Every time he does something for her and she doesn't acknowledge it or appreciate it or need it, then it shuts him down. Why should I do something for you if it doesn't make you happy? Everything I do should be a support to help you be happy or to make you happier. But see, what I have to know, and every guy listening can know, is when you're with a girl and she's like upsets you, she triggers you, you're only triggered because you think you on a subconscious level that you failed her, you know, because why? Because if a woman's really happy, you feel really good. I made her happy. Okay. So you feel real great about that. Testosterone goes up. She's trusting you. She's accepting you. She's appreciating you. Those are the messages of love that we men need in a relationship. And if she can't give it, that's okay. We go to our cave. We detach from her for a little while. We come back to loving ourselves, do something you feel good about yourself. And then you can go back to that. No woman's going to be perfect, but they need to know how they shut men down over and over and over. And if they don't know it, they'll just keep doing it. You know, like you say to a woman, you know, you just have to stop complaining. Well, if I don't complain, he won't change. I said, that's because you don't understand men at all. All you have to do is be nice to a guy and ask him to help you with something. Every complaint is just a request for help. Every judgment is because you think you have to change him so that you'll get the help. And the problem is you don't even know the help you need. See, they don't know what's going on inside. If you remember during the COVID scare and all that stuff, the only people who went to the hospital had extremely low vitamin D levels. And nobody told them you need to get out in the sun and amp up the sun. You know, the whole thing about vitamin D is so important for the immune system that a long time ago, a little fun history here, if I have time. Okay, this is a little...
a few minutes. Yeah.
A couple of minutes here. It's the if you were a wealthy person a long time ago, they didn't have all the banks and transfers of money. You just had your gold, okay, and you had your army to protect it. But as you get older, all you care about is your health, and so if you were a rich guy, you'd go to the best hospitals to get healthy. And what were they called? Sanitariums, where you would go and you would drink this magic drink, and you would sit out in the sun all the time and drink pure water and pure air. I know about this because I lived there. It was Switzerland. So everybody, all the rich people, all the enemies for each other, it was neutral because your biggest enemy would come to the same place. You know, you can't fight them. And you'd bring your army with you to protect your gold, and then you'd leave it there. And so those mountains are just filled with gold. Okay, that's why the banking system comes from there. And so all the rich people came there for the treatment. What was the treatment? It's because everybody understood the treatment was fresh air, clean water, and lots of sunshine. They naked bathing, you know, getting the sunshine. I used to do this. I lived in Switzerland. It was amazing when I was a monk. Then what happens is they'd feed them. They had cows, you know, there's cows all in the fields. They're all organic and eating the grass to get the best milk. And then they would make whey protein. Whey protein is the elixir of life. Okay. Is that they would have this not heat processed, organic whey protein with a little bit of casein, not 90% casein. 90% is cow milk, but you need to knock down the casein and you'd have the whey protein, and they would just drink a diet of that and they get better. See, I learned this by being in Switzerland, understanding what used to happen. And when I was 25 years ago, I was 24 years ago, I had early stage Parkinson's. I cured it with the Swiss. That was it. I just stopped eating other food, mainly just ate the whey. I found a company. I manufactured the perfect balance of human balance of casein and whey, and organic, not heat processed. And then I put enzymes in it. Enzymes that break down the protein, put it in water, which was 101 degrees, let it sit for 45 minutes, and it comes pre-digested. It turns into peptides. It goes right into your brain and heals your brain. It's all these problems that men have. It's all brain, getting the brain to work better. Because once you have an addicted brain, and not that I had addictions, but I was addicted to success, meaning that, you know, wherever you go, people recognize you and they celebrate you and they say you saved their life. That's a massive dopamine stimulator. You can't have that much dopamine without it affecting your receptor sites. So they start closing down and become desensitized. And that then gives rise to ADD, gives rise to Parkinson's and all kinds of brain problems. That's what Parkinson's is your receptor sites just close up completely. And so dopamine doesn't work. The way I figured that out is I looked at, okay, I started having Parkinson's, which is whenever I would focus, my body would involuntarily shake. So then I analyzed this and I saw addictions. And I'm saying this because I know a lot of guys listening are of addictions, and you need to get over it. You need to heal your brain, because once you have high stimulation a lot through that masturbation is like having the same effect on my brain as being a superstar. What that does, high stimulation desensitizes your receptor sites. So now you're dependent upon the high stimulation. So I had to heal my brain to upregulate the receptor sites. Whey protein produces a huge amount of serotonin to do that. Has to be pre-digested, because once you have an addiction, you can't really digest your foods effectively. So that was the major thing. I also took something else that they didn't do in Switzerland, but I was trying out all these things to see what would work. And it was something called lithium orotate. Now, lithium orotate, I've been promoting it now. I manufactured that shake, by the way. And then I took the other major thing that I found for brains. I did a study and I saw that you put lithium into a petri dish and brain cells, and they start multiplying. Nothing else does that. Lithium is actually multiplying your brain. It also stabilizes your mood, because a lot of these guys on their female side, they have big mood swings. Okay. They get anxious, or they get angry, or they get procrastinate. See, what is procrastination? Just understand it. You wait to the last minute until it's an emergency before you do the thing. You need an emergency to get there, because an emergency is danger, and that produces enough dopamine. You want to be able to free from, that force that just holds you back from doing what you know you're here to do. And you're waiting and waiting until it's danger, until finally you do it. If you do it, it's because the dopamine, the danger was so high that you had to do it. And this is part of what's being a man, is doing what you have to do, but it shouldn't have to be waiting until it's dangerous. This is when you get up and you do your exercise, you feel I have to do it. And then you feel good later because you did something you had to do. You had to overcome some challenge. That's part of being a man. Doesn't mean you have to do it so much. I remember when I was younger, I was taking Kundalini courses, and the guy said, just put your hands up in the air like this and just hold them there until it's painful. That's it. And you experience so much pain that during the day, nothing's going to bother you. But
that's interesting. Okay.
I basically, I used to have a lot of anxiety, and that was all healed. After I'd been a monk for 9 years, I married the wrong woman. She fell in love with another guy and left me. I was devastated, and I was teaching classes on relationship. And so that I didn't have a way to make money teaching classes on relationship. That was my money. And the woman who I loved rejected me for another man. So I was like knocked into depth. And so
was that first marriage, was that sort of what launched you into Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus? Or
when I look back, a lot of the mistakes I made in that marriage was helping me understand the difference between men and women. I'll explain it very quickly. I tried to marry Bonnie. Bonnie I married to for 33 years for her. But I tried to marry her 6 years before. Okay. I love Bonnie. I wanted to make her happy, but I was still playing the game. I felt, I'm universal love. I have lots of girlfriends. But eventually I said, I just want to marry you. And then she didn't trust that I just wanted to be married, because I had a history of wanting lots of girlfriends and everything. So I couldn't convince her to marry me. And this other woman was another girlfriend, had pursued me. Her husband even said, please take my wife. She can't live without you. And he was this guy.
Take my wife, please.
Take my wife, please.
Yeah.
So, and she had money. She helped me get started in my career. And so I let a woman help me. And as every woman will feel after a while helping a man, is they will feel resentful. And she wants a man to help her, whether she's aware of it or not. But this woman, my first wife, her self-esteem was so low. The only way she felt self-esteem is to find somebody that needed her. And certainly at the time, I didn't have much money, and I needed an assistant and someone to promote me. And she was doing all that for me. But then, she basically lost attraction for me and for another man who she felt could do something for her. And that's what I learned when I went back to be with Bonnie. Now I'd sort of developed myself after being a monk. I had a profession. I could teach things. I felt more grounded in my masculinity. I could win Bonnie over, and I did. But it took me 9 months first of healing, because I was so devastated by, being rejected on both sides. She wanted to be with another man, and that was my income. I couldn't teach relationships, and my relationship failed like that. I had so much anxiety, and it helped me remember an experience in childhood where I had a lot of anxiety. For me, it was a time where I thought I'd never see my parents again. I was with strangers. I felt abandoned. And it was like just a week away, but it was like, for a child, 6 years old, it's like forever. I'll never see my mother again, and so forth. And that was the wound, that the feeling of insecurity. When I remember the day when I said, I left those people and I'm going to walk home, but I couldn't find home. I was in a different state, and I realized I don't have the power to get home. So for me, it's always been a theme of how do I come back to myself again? But by reliving that experience is what you do in therapy, as you learn to look at your dark side, your suppressed side from childhood. Life will trigger it, but then you have to know how to process it. And this is very, very important for men. The men today, because they have such high estrogen, they have all these emotional experiences. By learning my process techniques, which I've been teaching in that workshop, now I really needed to use it. After 9 months of going through this healing process after the big breakup, I never had anxiety again. I'm completely free of anxiety, 74 years old. And yet from 21 to 33, I had anxiety all the time. Even being a monk, if I stood in front of an audience, I would still have anxiety. Meditation really helped me, but it didn't overcome or heal the wounds of my past.
Yeah.
And so in a sense, my mother was so wonderful. I was so attached to her, and then to lose her and feel like I'm never going to get back to it, it was a big trauma. So this is a part of all men. The more we go to our female side, it will wake up the wounds from our childhood, that's the good thing about it. The good thing about women going to their male side is they do feel a certain empowerment, but then they realize that they have to come back to their female side, and it will appreciate a man for that even more. The ability to be for a woman to be on her male side and her female side is when the two become one, which is the highest spiritual state. And for me, the ability to having that wound come up and feel, boy, that was a hard time for me. And I've had many, many hard things happen as well, but I know how to process the emotions of that. That then integrates my female side, the emotional side of me, with the male side of me. And that's where you find your real power. So yes, men have gone to their female side, and now they're waking up realizing that, I've got a problem. I got low testosterone. What's causing that? Well, first of all, when you have emotional experiences, you have to practice what the Navy SEALs do. Never speak out loud your negative emotions, but write them out. Okay. You write them out, not to be shared with anybody. See, if you feel a negative emotion and express it, it's always to change somebody. And if you have to change somebody, it means you're in danger and you're using negative emotions to get what you want. But if you can write it out and you don't have to share it with anybody, your brain gets the idea that this is what I'm feeling, but I don't need to feel that because I'm not in danger. It's a very simple concept of learning to write out what you feel. And then as you can do that, then you can actually get to the deeper issues that will come up if you're in a committed relationship. That's what actually brings up the deepest feelings is women. A woman, because see, what happens when you fall in love is you've reconnected to your inner child. It's the time. See, love is what we feel as children. My grandchildren are just all love, just all love. It just opens you up to love. And that helps your brain remember what you felt as a child. Well, when you have an orgasm with a woman, you're also experiencing this high peak state of feeling deep love for a brief moment. That will then bring up your stuff. And then once you learn to bring up your stuff, then you can integrate your female side to your male side. And that's by learning how to process your emotions. And what I see is for the younger men is that they all have all these emotional issues. They don't know what to deal with them, learning to journal them. So in all my books, every one of my 28 books, almost every one of them, I explain towards the end how to process your emotions. That's what allowed me to overcome my anxiety, my depressions, my procrastination. All those things allowed me to look at, okay, what's bothering me inside, and not just suppress it like those Navy SEALs is I'm gonna suck it up. And that's a good technique. That's called sucking it up and not expressing it. That tells your brain you're safe because you don't have to express it. And then your testosterone goes back up. It produces adrenaline, and adrenaline increases your testosterone. But then to go to a higher level of balancing your male and your female sides for making love, okay, you want to have extended love making. You want to be able to, we're talking multi-orgasmic man here. You have to combine your male and female side. And to be a multi-orgasmic man, you need to have both connections from your male side to your female side. Biologically, this is so interesting. A man getting erection has to have testosterone go up, but simultaneously his estrogen levels have to rise as well. The problem with men who lose erections is that they're connecting with their wife, their estrogen, they love her, so their estrogen goes up so high and their testosterone can't go above it. So you have to feel the hardness, but the erection only occurs if you're connecting with a woman. See, that's where it happens. There's other situations where you gay men, they're in a role play. One's up, one's down, one's more feminine, one's more masculine, all that. They get erections. And there is something about men, we need to have our erections. But what you do, and what every father should have taught his child, his son, these are ancient techniques, is when you get an erection, it says, touch me. And so what you do, if you can see what I'm doing, is the top part of the penis, you look at the clock and you say, let's see if I can keep it up for 10 minutes by just gently stroking it and letting it settle down all by itself. And usually it will just, as long as you don't touch the head or touch the back side of it, the vulnerable side of it, then it doesn't stimulate dopamine. It just gives you a little pleasure. And so what you're training yourself is to be able to sustain a little pleasure without feeling like it's little, I have to have more. It's like eating a Oreo cookie, you get a big dose of it, then your blood sugar drops, you have to have another one, and you have to have another one. Same thing, if you go up and down on your penis, you have no control. You just, I have to go there. So you train your penis to not be so sensitive. It's going to give you plenty of pleasure when you put it in her. But what happens if it's too much pleasure, then you start trying to achieve a goal. I've got to get to that. I got to have that orgasm, as opposed to, I don't have to have that orgasm. This feels good enough the way it is. And I can last longer and keep giving her more and more orgasms. So it's like retraining that. And there's no way this technique can work if you're looking at porn. It can only work when you're not looking at porn and you're
looking at the clock, you said.
We're looking at the clock. You're looking at the clock and you just say, I'm going to do this for 10 minutes. And the objective is for it to just settle down. You're wanting it to calm. You're calming it down, not doing the opposite, any up and down. And then, so when you finally get to a girl, you stay calm and you become more and more detached, but at the same time, you feel her passion. See, you become one. See, this is the whole idea of oneness is I'm on my male side, which is detached, cool, calm, and collected. And I'm on my female side in her, feeling passion and feeling excitement, feeling one with her orgasm. So you can be multi-orgasmic by creating her having multi-orgasms. And then your orgasm is different from ejaculation. It's these big peaks of pleasure that go up and down. There's a good book to read on this, The Old Multi-Orgasmic Man. They have some good techniques. I feel like what I just explained is a better technique because it's not control at all. You see, they're going to try to tell you to go up and try to hold back and hold back. That's just controlling a natural
edging, right? That's what they call that, edging.
And I like edging as long as you don't get to the edge. Stay around 6 as opposed to get to 9. I used to do edging and I'd be at a 9 and then afterwards I have blue balls unless I ejaculate. So, part of at my 70s, I don't think young men have to do this, but I know for me, if I ejaculate, I'm not interested in sex for, at least a week. But what I do is I'm multi-orgasmic and I'm having her orgasm. So I don't need to ejaculate. And so not needing to ejaculate, I'm ready to have sex the next morning. I have sex, almost every day when she's here. I'm fortunate. My wife she travels and does her job because I also need that distance. Men need distance from their wives. And I'll say this to the guys. If your wife hasn't read, your girlfriend, if you move in with her, she needs to read Men Are From Mars. Okay. It's very important. Even the later books are more advanced because they teach the hormones. Yeah. This one book I'm talking about, but she has to understand men's cave time. See, when you're in your apartment, you're in your cave time. And then when you're with her, you're all about her. And then you go back to your cave time. But when you live with her, suddenly she thinks you're going to be all about her all the time.
That's why I tell guys, you need to introduce artificial space in the relationship because that attraction grows in space there.
And she needs to understand it. See, she has to understand it. Otherwise, she'll take it personally and think, oh, you don't love me. Oh, you don't care about me. And the reality is, anytime a man's in a relationship with a woman and you find yourself feeling annoyed or irritated or losing interest in her or whatever, the major reason is not what she said or done. It's that you haven't taken space from her. You really need to, you can't depend on a woman to build your testosterone. It needs to be, because, if my wife is happy to see me, my testosterone goes up, no doubt. But it's already at a high enough level where I'm not dependent on her to get to my baseline of 10 times more testosterone than her. I have my work. Oh my God, if I didn't have a job, I'd be like these other retired men. They don't get erections. All my friends don't get erections. And lots of them have prostate cancer. And then there's this big lie where they say that, if you don't masturbate 30 times a month, you're going to get prostate cancer. They said big study. I did a whole defrauding that whole thing. It was complete nonsense. It was completely just a subterfuge. See, these studies are funded by the porn industry. They want men masturbating every day. No culture ever in history has ever recommended that. Never.
Yeah, that it does seem kind of far-fetched out there. How are you doing on time? Should we wrap this up? I know you have other appointments.
I think it's time to wrap it up. It's so nice to talk to you. And hey, look at the feedback from the guys. And if you have a guy audience, I'd love to come back on and talk more about ways to keep your testosterone high.
Oh, you're welcome back anytime. So your latest book is Be Happy With or Without a Man. This is more for women. So guys,
it's for guys to give to women and say, I'll read it with you.
Okay.
And they have to cop to going along with everything. Okay. But it's all about women having to change, and they have to change. If they don't,
these guys will love it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a very key thing. Or just give her the book. And what a man needs to read is just basic Men Are From Mars. If you're still a guy.
And that book is like, if you listen to it on Audible, it's like 2 hours. I listened to it in a round trip on my drive to Grand Junction one day. It was great book. Love it.
Well, it pains me to hear that, because you only listen to 2 hours and the actual full book is 6 or 8 hours. But you got the basics. Okay. We had to cut out all this other stuff. And
I'll have to go back and get the paperback then.
Get the paperback. That's the basics. And also there's another one, if you like the science, it's called Beyond Mars and Venus. Beyond Mars and Venus is when I took the basic Mars Venus ideas and I'd added science to it. And I think the science it certainly helped me expand these ideas. It also helps me be much stronger in explaining to women how they are the problem, because you can see it in the biology. If they're not getting help from a man, if they're not open to receiving his help, there's nothing he can do for her. And if he can't do that for her, she'll be on her male side and she'll be single the rest of her life.
That's unfortunate. Where can people find you online, Dr. Gray?
A lot of information comes at marsvenus.com. Also, I did mention that if people are interested in the protein shakes that I recommend to help overcome ADD, to give you more motivation, got the brain change from addiction. If you go there and just say, contact us, we'll have a coach call you for free and explain the whole process to you. There's a few other things. There's the lithium orotate, which will help balance dopamine and serotonin in the brain. And everybody, see, it's illegal everywhere in the world except America. It's not illegal to take, but you can't sell it anywhere else because the pharmaceuticals don't want you to take it. You don't need all their drugs when you do this. Lithium is the most important mineral, because every time you eat sugar or every time you're excited, you run out of lithium and then you feel depressed. Before, it was just known to help people go high and then low. People had bipolar, but it caused everybody to balance the brain chemicals, which then balance the hormones. And lithium is very important for that. And lithium orotate is the only one that works. And I was teach this for years, and I manufacture it and so forth. It's on my website. Finally, Harvard has done a study for 10 years saying that lithium orotate, none of the other forms of lithium orotate is actually a treatment they now recommend for Alzheimer's, and that Alzheimer's is the result of not enough lithium in your brain. So that's a 10-year study from Harvard. It's amazing. And of course, I've been promoting this for 25 years.
You pioneered it.
Yeah. I pioneered it. Nobody else was doing it. I tried to get it in all the stores. They wouldn't take it. And you know what the logic? This is the logic of the pharmaceutical industry. Yes, it does make you happier. But if people think it makes them happier, they might drink the whole bottle. And even a whole bottle will only give you a stomach ache. But that story they tell about lithium is the inferior forms of lithium, lithium carbonate. In order for it to affect a bipolar patient, you need to give them 500 times the dose of what's in my pills. And whenever you take 500 times the dose of anything, it's not good for you. Anything too much is not good for you. So you got to find the right amount. It's easy. You don't have to do tests to find the right amount. It's becoming very, very popular. And right now it's actually sold out. It should be back on Amazon and also at my website. I'll be having it probably in the next week again, because we've sold out. Everybody wants it after that study. And ours is the best. It's called Advanced Design because we combine the lithium orotate with the calcium orotate and the magnesium orotate. The calcium orotate stimulates dopamine. The magnesium stimulates the serotonin, and lithium causes them to go back and forth, balancing back and forth infinitely fast. And that's what function is to keep you balanced with focus and relaxation. And people, if you have ups and downs, you'll notice it within a few days. I mean, it's not a drug, it's just a mineral. And that's the important thing about it. So my basic program is you do the lithium orotate, and you start with 2 shakes a day, and your brain will work so much better than ever before. It's an amazing thing. You can eat less food or you can eat as much food. Just add that protein. But we need those amino acids, those peptides. And you can spend $10,000 on peptides, which is how I first cured my Parkinson's, with $10,000 a week with peptides in my vein, till I said, how do I figure out how to do this? And when you treat the protein, get the right kind of protein and the right balance with the enzymes, and you let it process itself, then what happens is it turns into peptides, and your brain converts it into transforming itself, healing itself. And that's what I highly recommend for guys. If you have any addiction, it's the ultimate thing to help you with your addictions. And then you don't have to take it all the time. Well, I've been doing it for 25 years. I don't do it every day, but I notice if I haven't done it in a while and I take it, I go, wow, this stuff really does work. My brain just feels really clear again. And so
this is amazing stuff I created.
That's right. I feel very proud of it.
That's great. Dr. Gray, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate you coming on the show.
Paul, a real pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Dr. Gray, thank you so much for joining me today. You're welcome back anytime. I don't know what you guys thought, but he was much more red-pilled than I expected. Either way, guys, check out his book. He said it multiple times. Women are the problem. So if we expect them to change, I guess we need them to get his new book. Am I right? All right, guys, that's all we have. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Do be sure to like, subscribe, hit those notifications, and I will see you guys on Wednesday.
This has been the Come On Man podcast. Now, go out and get it.